What I bought? A new Blink Mini 2K Plus smart security camera. What I got? 2K clarity sharp enough to see every detail of home when I'm away. Plus audio like I'm in the room, not with my bestie traveling to another city. Plus easy plug-in setup to install faster than skipping through podcast ads. But you'd never skip ads, right? Plus, I got all of this for just $49.99. Blink Mini 2K Plus. Mini camera, max performance. Shop now at amazon.com/blink.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Before director Sam Raimi achieved major box office success with the original Spider-Man trilogy, he was primarily recognized as the cult filmmaker behind the Evil Dead series. In 1981, Raimi and star Bruce Campbell created The Evil Dead, offering their humorous and irreverent take on horror, featuring Ash, a clumsy fool being terrorized by ghouls in a cabin surrounded by woods. The film's success led to this 80s flick sequel, which serves as a pseudo-sequel and a remake, blending the grotesque style of the first film with slapstick comedy that echoes Raimi's fondness for the Three Stooges. Although Ash appears in 1990's Army of Darkness and the Starz series Ash vs. Evil Dead, which ran from 2015 to 2018, it's the first sequel that most often represents Ash's defining moment. So join us at the creaky old cabin, turn on the reel-to-reel recorder, and strap on the chainsaw as Nicholas Pepin, Laramy Wells, and I discuss Evil Dead 2 from 1987 on this episode of the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast. Well, welcome in, everybody. So glad to have you on the podcast. We're in spooky season, and it's time to talk about some scary movies, and this one's kind of funny and scary. More funny than scary, more scary than funny. We'll find out. But welcome in. I'm your host, Tim Williams. Tonight, we're joining you live from the secluded cabin in the woods. We found a mysterious tape recorder, and we're about to open a very strange-looking book. What could possibly go wrong? To help survive the night and battle the forces of the demon, I've brought in two co-hosts who are, in a word, groovy. First up, he's a man who's not afraid to look evil in the eye and laugh. He's here to help us analyze every insane, slapstick frame, armed with cinematic insights that are sharper than a chainsaw attachment. Please welcome back from Pop Culture Roulette, the one and only Nicholas Pepin. How you doing, Nicholas?
All right. How about you?
I'm good. And joining him is a man who knows this is not just a sequel. He's our expert on the dark passages of 80s horror and one who can help us put the film's chaotic story back together, even if it means a trip to the workshed. It's great to have him back from Moving Panels Podcast, Mr. Laramy Wells. How you doing, Laramy?
I'm great. This is the greatest remake-will ever made.
The remake-will, I like that one. I like that. So we're talking about Evil Dead 2. Of course, Laramy and I covered the original Evil Dead way back in maybe like season 1 or season 2. It's been a minute.
Possibly.
Yeah. So, but this one, I think, is a little bit more well-known, I think, than the original, or probably was seen more than the original. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe
I don't
Army
know.
of Darkness,
Yeah.
but, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, there is 100% less tree rape, but.
That is true.
Yeah.
Even though I did get to that one scene, I was like, they're really going to do this scene again? So let's jump right in. So, Laramy, when did you see Evil Dead 2 for the first time?
I can't pinpoint the exact year. It was back in high school, though.
Okay.
And I think I told this story way back when we did the Evil Dead episode. I actually saw Army of Darkness first.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was in, it was either Blockbuster or it honestly could have been the library. And I saw the DVD for Army of Darkness. And I was like, well, this looks cool. And, I was fine. Like I said, I know it was late college because I was probably 17, just turned 18 or something. It was right when I could finally like rent like anything I wanted.
Right.
And so I remember getting it. And as I'm watching the opening of Army of Darkness, they do the whole, kind of like they do in this movie, the whole explanation of what has happened. And I'm sitting there going, I think this is a sequel. So, this is late 90s, early days of the internet. I'm getting on probably IMDb and trying to find out, and found out about them. So hit the...
Wait, did you get on a web crawler? Was that like one of the first search
Look, I may
engines?
have asked Jeeves. That's what I might have done. Might have got on Ask Jeeves. What is Army of the Darkness sequel to?
Actually used Yahoo as a search engine.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I had to find some distant video store that had it and print out my MapQuest to be able to get there. And yeah. And then the first Evil Dead became like my go-to horror movie in college. Like when there was a group of people that wanted to watch something scary, I would go, have y'all ever seen Evil Dead? And of course I'm just staring at them with the pencil to the ankle scene in that movie. I'm not watching the screen. I'm watching them.
Right.
Watching them react. But no, yeah, Evil Dead 2. I don't know if I'd say it's more known than the other ones, but definitely the chainsaw hand is definitely iconic. And because you got to think, even Army of Darkness, he only has it for like the opening of that movie, and then he replaces it with the metal hand. So this really is the movie that he uses the chainsaw more so. So, but no, high school for me. And this is I watch it anytime I get the chance movie.
What about you, Nicholas? First time watch?
You're going to find this hard to believe, but I also saw Army of Darkness first.
I'm noticing a pattern.
It was the bigger released movie. So yeah.
Homecoming 95. So I was still in high school. The group of people that I was with were like, this is lame, let's ditch it. And we went to Blockbuster and rented Army of Darkness and went back to one of the houses and watched Army of Darkness. And then I got to college and I had a roommate named Scott. Tim, you might remember.
I remember Scott. I remember Scott. Yeah.
Scott opened my world to a whole genre of movies that I had never seen before. And he was like, you liked Army of Darkness? Have you seen Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2? And I'm like, I have not. So he showed them to me and I was like, how did I not know these existed? And it was amazing. And yeah, I don't watch them as often, but I do really love. I mean, I think I like Evil Dead 2 more than Evil Dead, but we'll get to that later on.
Yeah. So I really don't remember if I ever saw this before. I know I saw the VHS cover and probably was too scared to rent it because, like I said, it's well established on the podcast. I was not a horror movie watcher as a kid, even in high school. I got a little bit into it, but so watching it for the podcast might be my first time watching it all the way through. But I was telling Laramy before we recorded, like there were certain parts I'm like, was this in the first one? Or is it like retelling the first one? But I feel like I've seen this before. So I don't know if I've just seen clips of it here and there, or if I did watch it one time many years ago and just don't really remember it. So this is very much a first time. It was much like a first time watch for me. So I could go ahead and say it's not going to rank high on the nostalgia meter for me because I have no nostalgia for it. Not as much as you guys do, obviously. But how long has it been since you rewatched it before rewatching it for the podcast, Laramy?
I mean, I don't get to watch it as often as I'd probably would like to, just because I have small children. But it's probably been 2 or 3 years since I've seen it, because it definitely is. I know you have Jerry D on the show a little bit, and he's usually one of those like, I watch it every year.
Yeah.
Honestly, this would probably be one that if I could, I would watch it every year. And hey, as my daughters get older, that will eventually become a thing. So,
what about you, Nicholas?
It's been a little bit. I live with a wife that doesn't like Bruce Campbell as much as I do.
I'm sorry.
So I don't get to watch that stuff as often. And I just, I don't, unlike Jerry, who watches apparently the same movie year after year, I don't tend to watch I mean, now if you go back to college when I used to watch like Billy Madison like every weekend, that
Right, right.
but
Different
then
time of life.
different time of life. I got so much else I want to watch, but every time I watch it, I'm just like, oh, this is so good.
Yeah, so no rewatch for me. Like I said, I think this might have been the first time I saw it.
At least
but
not yet.
yes, yeah. I mean, I'll definitely watch it again. I mean, it is fun, and it's, we'll get in. Well, we can talk about it now. Like it is trying to kind of balance that zany. I would even like even more than Three Stooges, like even like Looney Tunes. Like it's almost like that kind of ridiculousness that you have really more at the the beginning than towards the end, even though it's still kind of there. But yeah, it was fun. It was a fun rewatch. Like this would be a hard one to like watch Evil Dead and then go right into Evil Dead 2 because they are so kind of similar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
change of tone though.
Yeah, a change of tone is very, very evident. So yeah, I would definitely watch. If I had to choose between the two to watch, I would probably watch this one again, just because it's more funny and kind of a little bit more fun and lighthearted, even though it's still very gross and
That's what makes it work. The fact
Oh
that
yeah,
it's
yeah,
so over the top and
yeah,
so
exactly. You lean into it.
so chaotic and so just, like if I feel like if they toned it, like the first one I enjoyed as a movie and as a horror movie, but it's
Mhm.
not as rewatchable as the second one because like the over the top like makes it almost more like a horror comedy, like Tucker and
Mhm.
Dale or something like that, where like leaning into the gore, leaning into the
Mhm.
crazy camera work makes it work and
Yeah.
makes it.
Mhm. And you can tell the budget is bigger, so you can tell he's able to do more that I think he wanted to do in the first one and just couldn't afford to. So he kind of like where he couldn't go that far in the first one, he really goes for it even more in the second
Well,
one.
that's when you have a movie studio paying for it instead of some
Yeah,
dentist.
yeah, yeah.
All right, listen up, nacho chips. Quiet down, crispy potatoes. This is the moment Velveeta's been preparing you for, and you're not about to crack under pressure. Today's the day to go all in on the drip. Velveeta's Heat and Eat Queso is the MVP of any game day spread, so stick by them, and you'll be golden. Now get out there and make delicious history. No tailgate party is complete without Velveeta.
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
Although then you forget you're actually on a set and not in an actual cabin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because I mean you might have this later, but but there's the scene where he's being chased by the Evil Dead, and you can see like that there's no ceiling, there's no roof.
Right.
Like, you can see the stage lights, you can see the rigging. It's like, oh yeah, we forgot we're on a set this time.
Yeah. There are definitely a couple of scenes with some shots where it's like, oh, you can totally see the wire that he's hanging from, like
at the end when he's spinning.
Yeah. So, but it's still fun, All right, well, let's jump into story origin and pre-production. This was a little longer than I thought it was going to be, so I tried to shorten it as much as I can. So, before the fake blood had dried on the first film, director Sam Raimi already had an idea. Working with his publicist, they dreamed up a story so wild it's hard to believe. Ash gets sucked through a time portal to the Middle Ages to fight more Deadites. They then advertised it. The title, Evil Dead 2, Evil Dead and the Army of Darkness. Yeah, it was a mouthful, but Universal passed, Fox passed, the medieval epic was dead. Instead, Raimi and crew went off to make a film called Crime Wave. It didn't go so well. Critically savaged and ignored by audiences, Crime Wave was a flop, and Raimi and producer Rob Tappert and star Bruce Campbell found their career stalling fast, and they were desperate. They had to make an Evil Dead sequel. They found a lifeline, or so they thought, with Embassy Pictures. But after 5 months of pre-production, things weren't going very well. Around the same time, the legendary producer Dino De Laurentiis offered Raimi a job directing a Stephen King adaptation, Thinner. Raimi turned him down, but that connection, it would change everything. De Laurentiis was making a lot of Stephen King movies at the time, and King himself was busy directing Maximum Overdrive, which Laramy and I have talked about extensively. One night, King went to dinner with a crew member who just happened to have been interviewed for the Evil Dead 2 job. The crew member mentioned the film was stuck, unable to find funding. Of course, we know Stephen King loved the first Evil Dead. His glowing review is what helped put it on the map. So what does he do? He picks up the phone, calls Dino De Laurentiis personally, and tells him, "You have got to fund this movie." De Laurentiis, I cannot say that name. De Laurentiis was skeptical, but then Raimi and Tappert showed him the box office numbers from Italy, the first film that had a monster that hit there. 20 minutes later, the deal was done. De Laurentiis agreed to finance the film for $3.6 million. But there was a catch. Raimi wanted $4 million to make his medieval epic, but De Laurentiis said no. He wanted a film just like the first one, a real sequel. That Army of Darkness idea, it would just have to wait. The good news, the script was mostly written during the production of Crime Wave. Raimi brought in his old childhood friend, Scott Spiegel. They grew up making Super 8 comedies, and Spiegel had a big note. The first film was horror. This one should be a comedy. In the name of saving money, the 5 original characters from the first film, they didn't come back, all except for Ash and Linda. They even had a draft where escaped convicts take Ash hostage in the cabin. But you have to picture where they wrote the thing. Raimi and Spiegel were living in a house in Silver Lake, California with the Coen brothers, Frances McDormand, Kathy Bates, and Holly Hunter. Yeah, that house. Imagine trying to finish a script with that crowd around. So where did all that insanity come from? 2 words, Three Stooges. This wasn't just horror, it was going to be slapstick. That iconic, brutal fight Ash with his own possessed hand, that came from a Super 8 film Spiegel made as a kid called Attack of the Helping Hand, which was inspired by the Hamburger Helper commercials. The legendary laughing room scene where the deer head, the lamp, the books all come to life and cackle at Ash, that happened because Spiegel was goofing around with the gooseneck lamp, making it do a Popeye-esque laugh. It all clicked, and that influence is everywhere, right down to the film's most famous visual punchline, when Ash finally traps his rogue hand under a pile of books. The book on top, A Farewell to Arms. So that's how it got made. But let's talk about... Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I know this was probably in your research, like you said, you shortened it up, but I find it fascinating that, because, of course, it's very confusing if you don't know the story to watch Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
And there's Ash and Linda going to the cabin.
Back to that.
Like, you're like, why would they be going? Wait, and didn't she die in the first?
Yeah.
Yeah. And to find out that it was because since Raimi wanted to get Evil Dead made, he pretty much sold it away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think to New Line. I could be wrong.
Yeah. I think New Line owned the rights for the first one.
And so they couldn't make it a true sequel because they couldn't connect it to that story, so that's why they pretty much just retold the entire first movie with
less people.
Yeah, in an abbreviated version.
Yeah,
at the beginning. But what's interesting though, did they you may know this because I don't actually. Did they reshoot the shot of the Evil Dead coming through the cabin and then going straight into Ash?
No,
yes.
I think did they? I thought I read that that was redone.
That's what I'm asking. If they had to reshoot it, because it looks exactly like the one from the end of the first movie.
It is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
They did reshoot a lot of it. I know that they were saying one of the popular rumors or urban legends is that Bruce Campbell hurt himself in the exact same way he did on the first one, and they were like, no, we did it slightly better. He only kind of injured himself. But the second time, instead of broke his jaw or whatever it was that he did on the first one.
That glorious chin that Bruce Campbell has.
Well, I also read that was a rumor that they made up to be a fun story, but he actually didn't get hurt. So it depends on which story you read on the internet. But yeah. But it wasn't even the same cabin. They filmed in a completely different cabin.
Yes.
For this one, and like you said, most of it was done in, I think it was an old gymnasium. They built the
I think I heard that too. Yeah,
an old school. So yeah, you can tell a lot of it is like a studio. It doesn't have that same real cabin feel like the first one did.
Yeah, because the first one was in backwoods Michigan, and that one was the second one was somewhere in
they did North Carolina.
Yeah, North Carolina. I think in the same general region they had filmed Maximum Overdrive.
It wasn't too far because that's how the crew member was trying to do both movies around the same time. But I know it was the same town where Steven Spielberg came like he had filmed Color Purple in the same area, because they were talking about there's a few like landmarks that you can see in both movies. Two totally different movies, of course.
Yeah, very different movies.
But yeah, it was they filmed this one. They filmed the exterior shots in North Carolina, but I think pretty much all the interior shots were done in the studio. So, which I don't think was in North Carolina. I think we were in Tennessee, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, there's something I do remember. Something, either the first one or the second one is connected to Tennessee.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into cast. Of course, I'd say cast, but like this is Bruce Campbell's movie. I mean, it's especially
it's Bruce
the first
Campbell
half.
and then a bunch of people who were in this movie.
Yeah. We'll hit it. We're gonna hit these really quick. So, Bruce Campbell, of course, is Ash. We covered him in the Evil Dead episode. We love Bruce Campbell. Of course, he's made a cameo in every Sam Raimi movie. So if you're a fan of Sam Raimi, as I know Laramy is, you will find him pop up in all those movies. But he's so good in this, though. I mean, just the comedy, the physical comedy for sure. Yeah. And I think they said the only stunt that he did not do was him falling down the stairs, or when he gets caught on the stairs and falls like face first. But everything else was him.
Yeah, because pretty much it's Sam Raimi saying, "Hey, Bruce, I want to make a horror movie. I'm pretty much going to torture you for 90 minutes."
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Bruce is like, groovy.
Yeah, groovy. Yeah. All right, so next on our list of names that we don't know or never heard before, Sarah Berry as Annie. She's a writer and actress known for Evil Dead 2. She loves sequels because she did Chud 2, Bud of the Chud in 1989.
Yeah.
She actually quit acting after making Chud 2, so that's the extent of her filmography. Then you've got Dan Hicks as Jake, best known for his roles in this, Darkman, and Intruder. So Darkman, of course, another Sam Raimi movie. Okay, then we got Cassie Wesley as Bobby Joe. She's known for playing the roles of Chelsea Reardon on the CBS soap opera Guiding Light from 86 to 91. She was also on the soap opera One Life to Live from 93 to 2013. And then she moved over to NBC to be on Days of Our Lives from 2014 to 2020. So she loved the soap operas. But believe it or not, we mentioned some famous names earlier, but her character was actually inspired by Holly Hunter, who was the housemate of Sam Raimi in the early 80s, along with Joel Cohen and Frances McDormand, as we mentioned earlier. One particular incident inspired the character. Hunter was auditioning for a hooker part and was unusually made up and wearing a sexy, short-skirted outfit. She became angry at Raimi when he somewhat leered at her. Raimi pulled for Hunter to play the part, but the producers wanted someone, quote-unquote, sexier. I don't think any of the ladies in this movie were sexy at all. So, not ugly by any means, but not sexy like you would expect. I mean, like most horror movies have like those, the true eye candy female roles.
That's funny. Eye candy. That's funny.
I try. Sorry, made myself laugh again. Then we got Denise Bixler as Linda. Nothing on the filmography. I do have one fun fact that I just had to put. She was married to Steve Guttenberg from September 30th, 1988 to 1992. So yeah, so there's her claim to fame. Then you've got Lou Hancock. That is a female, Lou Hancock, as Henrietta. She earned a substantial cult following and praise for her characterization of Henrietta in this movie. She retired to Fort Worth, Texas, where she landed a recurring role on Walker, Texas Ranger as Mabel Shoup, the county clerk and CJ's love interest. After 3 seasons, go ahead.
I was just going to say, let's be clear. She is the human Henrietta.
Yes. I'm going to get to the zombified Henrietta in a second. Yeah. So after 3 seasons, she was offered a contract for a position as a permanent cast member on the show. She signed the deal, but soon died of multiple myeloma before she could earn the last credit. So very sad for that. But yes, as Larry mentioned, the zombified Henrietta was actually played by Sam Raimi's brother, Ted Raimi. He was forced to wear an extremely heavy full-body latex suit. With the addition of eye lenses and fake teeth, the only part of Ted's the audience can see is his tongue when the mouth is open. The shooting location in Wadesboro, North Carolina was going through a heat wave at the time, and a combination of this and the cumbersome suit made the production extremely difficult. He would quickly become overheated and profusely sweat in the suit. The special effects team would have to pour the liters of sweat out of the suit into styrofoam cups at the end of the shoot every day. In the climax of the film, the sweat can be seen pouring out of Henrietta's ear when she's flying through the air attacking Annie. Viewers can see it at the bottom of the screen when she turns to ash and screams. There's a rumor that the effects team somehow used and collected sweat in their horrendous prank on Ted on his last day in the suit. I won't even ask what that was, but yeah, so.
Yeah,
but there's the cast.
You brought up about Bruce Campbell making cameos in Sam Raimi's movie. So does his brother.
Yeah, his brother does too.
Yeah.
And the car that's driven at the beginning, the Oldsmobile.
I feel like that's something you can do to your brother, but you can't do to a lot of other actors. And, hey, you know what? You're going to be in this movie, but I'm going to wrap you in an unrecognizable suit and then torture you almost as much as I'm torturing Bruce.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but that's what oh my gosh, I this is why I shouldn't be on a trivia team, because I can't think of somebody's name at the right time. Guardians of the Galaxy. What's his name?
Oh yeah, James Gunn.
James Gunn and Sean Gunn, you know.
Yeah.
You're gonna. I know you're 6'2", but I want you to play Rocket, who's literally like 2.5 feet tall.
Yeah.
No, not the voice. I want you to actually be the guy.
You're just going to be down on your hands and knees.
Yeah, in the body.
And then the Suicide Squad, you're going to be a weasel. We'll do that too. Yeah.
He did get some redemption. He got to be his own character in the last one, so that was good.
Yeah, well, and he's getting to be Maxwell Lord in the new DC. So that's a pretty impressive role. So looking forward to that.
All right, I'm going to ask this question. I'm sure I'm going to hear the answer I'm expecting. Anybody from the cast that I missed or want to talk about?
I mean, I feel like you listed the entire cast. What if
Actually, I did not. I was a couple people that had like nothing, but they're like there for a minute and they're gone. Like they're so like there's two professors like in that one scene at the beginning, and it's like and then you never see them again. So,
and then there's the medieval people at the end.
Yeah, at the very end. Yeah,
And then there's the voice of the professor.
I feel like there's like
Annie's
a good
dad.
50 to 60% of this movie where it's just Bruce anyway.
Yeah. Bruce, because he has a couple scenes where he's talking to himself and fighting with himself. So, but yeah. Well, let's talk iconic scenes. I think we're all going to be pretty much the same on this one. So, if someone says to you, Evil Dead 2, what's the first thing that pops in your head? I'm going to go to Nicholas first on this one.
I mean, we've already made reference to it, but when he, one scene leads into the other, but the fight scene with the hand, when his hand goes evil and he has to fight it, that is one of the first things. And then he cuts it off and then he builds himself the chainsaw, and he when he fires it up he says groovy, and like I think that just goes on to become Bruce Campbell's like catchphrase anyway. So but yeah, that fight scene where he fights his own hand is just sublime. It is pure brilliance.
Great physical comedy. Especially as he's crashing the plates over his head. And then his hand sees the butcher knife.
And then he spends the rest of the movie fighting his own hand.
Yeah. I love my yeah. All right, we'll get there. What about you, Laramy? Same scene?
Well, honestly, just to break the mold a little bit, personally, when you say Evil Dead, I actually think of when he's laughing along with the house and he does that little dance with the lamp, the desk lamp.
Yeah.
And he's, goes up and down with it. That honestly is what pops into my head.
Okay. All right. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like to me, it's him, putting on the chainsaw and then cutting off making the shotgun, and putting it back. Yeah. Like that's just so cool and the groovy. But I was gonna say my favorite part with the hand is when the hand is like crawling over to like the hole in the wall, then it gives him the finger. Like that just made me, I was like, that was funny. That was a good one. So, all right. What about favorite scenes?
Henrietta Devil is like, I'll swallow your soul. I'll swallow your soul. And then he pulls out the shotgun and says, swallow this.
Yeah. I mean, I already mentioned the one I actually, if I'm going to say just a favorite scene that's not one that we've already talked about, when after he thinks he has killed his hand,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just get the huge like fire hydrant blast of blood hitting him. That's one for me. Of course, I know you're going to bring this up, and you would have brought this up in the trivia, but I got to mention it now too. I don't care. Every time I watch this movie, if I'm watching it with someone that I know does not know this, I hit pause the moment I can go, there's Freddy's glove.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then proceed to tell them the reason why Freddy's glove is in Evil Dead 2.
Yeah. I think I left it out of my notes because I think we talked about it in the first episode. Because the first episode has The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah, there's a Hills Have Eyes poster.
Yeah. And then Freddy puts an Evil Dead poster. Or
they're watching Evil Dead.
Right. Yeah, she's watching Evil Dead. So yeah. So there was like a continual like back and forth that they did. So acknowledging each other's films. So what other scenes you got?
I mean, this whole movie,
there's just so much on it. I mean, well, I will say it's not necessarily a favorite scene, but like the cabin dimensions at the beginning you had talked about when you could see it was on a set make no sense.
No,
like he's running and all of a sudden, he's running and running and running, and all of a sudden there's crawl spaces, and then they zoom out to the cabin, and it's like a 2-3 room cabin, and then like there's just it wasn't until I was rewatching it this time that I really truly understood that the first like 7 minutes of this movie are supposed to be just a recap of the first one. Because I was like, this is just a remake. Well, now that I know that word, I'm going to use it.
Exactly.
So I was just figured like, this is just a straight remake. I don't know why they didn't call it Evil Dead something other than 2, because like I didn't catch the fact that it was supposed to be like, oh, that was them going to the cabin, and this is them picking up like the next day after he's already dealt with the events of the first movie. Because there's a lot of other people, well, not a lot of other people, but there are other people involved in the first movie.
4 new people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Campbell is actually like, I had this on the notes. He said, you can call it a sequel, you can call it a requel, it's whatever you want to call it. If you really want to do it right, you take the first Evil Dead up to where the evil entity hits me, cut off all the recap, go right into Ash being thrown through the trees at the beginning, lands, and that's when it all makes sense.
Yeah, that's when it becomes a sequel.
So, and if you were confused by that, just watch it again.
I didn't say I was confused by it. I just,
I'm just on our general listeners, but hopefully you're listening to this episode, you're a fan and you've seen it. So if not, stop right now and go watch it and then come back.
Yeah, that's the great thing about this trilogy is that you can actually watch any one of these 3 movies by themselves, and you are seeing a full movie. Now, I will say, Army of Darkness, it might take you a minute to realize what the crap's going on, but you could sit there and watch it and not have to have seen Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2, especially Evil Dead 2, because they do show you the clips from the end of Evil Dead 2 at the beginning of Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
I mean, 2/3 of this podcast did watch the Army of Darkness first and didn't seem to be affected by the
Right.
In fact, it wasn't until like later on that I was like, wait, there's sequels? I mean, like this was the 3rd in the trilogy?
Yeah, so I know I've never seen Army of Darkness, so that's next on my list. So
sadly, that was a 92 release, so we never get to do it for your show.
No. So, but I make the rules. We'll see what happens. All right, well, let's jump into some scenes and trivia. Maybe it'll make us think of some other, or some trivia, maybe think of some other scenes. Let's see. I think we talked about that already. Well, I'll mention this. So we talked about the cabin is supposed to be the same as the one from the first Evil Dead. That movie was shot in Morristown, Tennessee. So Evil Dead 81 was Tennessee. The sequel was filmed nearly 270 miles to the east in Wadesboro, North Carolina. Most of the film was shot on a set built inside the gymnasium of Wadesboro J.R. Faison Junior High School. Financier Dino De Laurentiis had originally offered a studio in Wilmington, North Carolina, but director Sam Raimi chose Wadesboro, a 3-hour drive away, fearing that being so close to his office would lead to studio interference. So he chose not. not to choose. Go there, yeah.
And didn't the first cabin burn down, like the original cabin? Yeah.
So during the scene where the severed head of Linda bites Ash's hand, Bruce Campbell says the single line, "work shed." This line was later redubbed in post-production due to the quality of the audio, giving it a strange, slightly disproportionate sound to the audio. 9 years later, while filming his cameo in Escape from L.A. in 1986, the first thing Kurt Russell said to Bruce Campbell on set was, "Say work shed."
It's awesome.
I thought that was good.
Yeah, what before I read the trivia watching it this time, I caught
Mm.
how weird Workshed sounded. I'm like, oh, that must have been some ADR right there.
Yeah, I just chalked it up to, I mean, it was an 80s movie. There's always bad ADR in an 80s movie. So I chalked it up to that too. I didn't think anything more of it.
The large demonic head Ash battles in the climax of the film, which the crew nicknamed the Rotten Applehead, was too large and cumbersome for the crew to carry back to California, so it was left in North Carolina and soon disappeared. Its whereabouts were unknown for a number of years until it was found in a Halloween haunted house attraction just outside the original shooting location of Wadesboro, North Carolina. So they're going to find that. I don't know if in the side note, I may not keep this in the episode, but I just saw a news thing today that one of the original Scream masks, like the Ghostface killer mask, a girl found in a thrift store and paid like $5 for it. But she ended up like not wanting to wear it for Halloween, so she was going to resell it. And she posted the picture of like the inside where it was like labeled whatever the company was. She didn't know that's what it was. She made $800 on eBay.
Crazy.
On the mask.
Man.
So I'll be going
Why
to the
can't
thrift store
those
tomorrow.
things ever happen to me? Yeah.
So let's see. The dagger is another one of the many weapons from the first movie that returned here, although it has been revamped. The dagger in the first Evil Dead was an iron blade with a skull adorning the hilt. This one seems like a real skull with the attached spine serving as the blade, which I thought was a cool weapon.
Yeah.
In there.
Well,
so.
a mini skull with a giant spine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so many scenes were deleted from the movie, and according to official reports, all of them and the original version of the movie are lost. Some of the scenes are Henrietta is in her rocking chair while the professor reads the incantations. Her demonic eyes are unveiled in the cabin's light. Linda's severed head throwing up black bile on Ash when trapped in the vice, which is why black slime suddenly appears around her mouth in the final scene. Linda's severed head extending its long snake-like tongue into Ash's mouth while in the rocking chair. An extended take of the blood flood with green and yellow blood. An extended sequence of the half-headed Ed running after the characters and is eventually chopped to pieces with its body parts flopping on the floor. A possessed Ash eating a squirrel as he runs after Annie, and Ash's demonic face morphing back to normal after taking his dead girlfriend's necklace. Fans of the movies did manage to find a rare 36-minute work print of the film, which only has very early versions of opening and ending scenes and a few extra shots, including an old, rare TV version of the movie, which many alternate and extended scenes, but unfortunately does not include all the famous deleted scenes.
So I got a question. Did you find out anything about the prosthetic that the one dude wears where he's got like the multiple rows of teeth?
If I did, I didn't put it in my notes.
Yeah, because that had to have been extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then he swallows part of I forgot her name, the country girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like actually like eats part of her hair.
Right, yeah.
And like I'm like, did he actually swallow that hair?
Yeah, was it me or was there a lot of like hair, like pulling of hair or like eating of hair? Like hair seemed to be like a weird fixation in this movie. Was that just me?
I don't know. You might have some. That might be a problem, Tim. That you.
I don't know.
I
might have noticed it.
You got a hair fetish or something?
Not for me. No, but anyway.
Okay. No, I don't.
All right, this was cool. Evil Dead 2 was very popular in Turkey. In Istanbul, although it was playing in 2 cinemas on the same street simultaneously, it was still shown for over 2 months. Its success led to the release of its predecessor, The Evil Dead, in 1990, which had been denied a release until then. Like many foreign movies in Turkey at the time, the dialogue was dubbed. Inexplicably, some dialogue was dubbed into a scene where there's no actual dialogue. The scene where Ash fights his own possessed hand, Although the original audio only has grunts from Ash, the Turkish dubbing had him saying things like, "What is this thing inside of me? Who is taking control of me, making me his slave?" In Turkish, of course. The same dubbing was also used in subsequent video releases where the movie was equally popular. I just thought that was hilarious. While Ash's story continued on in Army of Darkness, filmmakers in Italy decided to commandeer the Evil Dead franchise name for their own benefit and with no real regard for copyright law. In 1988, director Umberto Lenzi released Ghost House under the title Evil Dead 3. The film, which centers on a group of friends terrorized in an abandoned house, has no connection to Raimi's movie, nor does 1988's Witchery, which was released in some territories as Evil Dead 4 and features David Hasselhoff going up against a witch.
Uh-huh.
The 1990 movie Beyond Darkness was also known as Evil Dead 5 and again centers on a spooky residence tormenting its occupants. Lifting Raimi's intellectual property, not very groovy. But I just thought that was hilarious.
I actually did think I had heard that about the Ghost House one. Like,
okay.
I don't think I knew about the other two, but when you said Evil Dead 3 Ghost House, I was like, oh yeah, I do think I remember hearing about that. You gotta love when they do stuff like that.
International filmmaking. Like the original film, Evil Dead 2 had censorship difficulties due to its high level of violence because DEG was a member of the Motion Picture Association of America. Raimi was contractually obliged to shoot the film with the intention of it earning an R rating. Upon reviewing the completed film, DEG's executive felt that Evil Dead 2 would almost certainly receive an X rating, which would limit its commercial prospects. Lawrence Gleason, the company's president of marketing and distribution, felt that if it would be cut for an hour, the film, quote-unquote, would be about 62 minutes long, and that both Raimi's vision and the audience's enjoyment would have been sabotaged as a result. Ultimately, DEG decided not to submit Evil Dead 2 to the MPAA for review or be credited on screen for their involvement in it. Instead, Rosebud Releasing Corporation, a shell company run by De Laurentiis' son-in-law Alex, was set up to handle the film's U.S. release, allowing it to be shown unrated. Although Rosebud technically did not have a distribution network, DEG had already booked the film in 340 cinemas across the country and had created and paid for the film's advertising campaign. Rosebud's logo, a rose blooming in time-lapse photography against a painted sky backdrop, that was designed and shot by Sam Raimi.
And I love that the shot when Ash is driving, that it is, I think it's Sam Raimi hanging off of another vehicle with a 2x4 and the camera, because he's using the 2x4 to push all of the limbs and trees and bushes and all that.
I did read that, yeah.
But it's just him just hanging on to some sort of vehicle, I think, which is just insane. Just the guerrilla filmmaking type style. Yeah, going over the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, that's also something they did in some of those classic like Three Stooges era.
Oh yeah.
You know, if they showed a establishing shot of a car driving, it was usually like a little toy car, going across something. So it's was very fitting for the style of movie. But I also love how once the Evil Dead hits and it apparently tears that bridge apart, that both sides of the bridge look identical.
Yeah.
Well, Demon's got to be efficient in what he does.
Yeah. Well, it rips them apart, rips them perfect symmetry. Takes
pride in what he does. Yeah. So, I will say, I really didn't get into favorite scenes, but I admired the stop motion effects, especially there at the beginning with the skeleton of the girlfriend kind of dancing and stuff. Like, I know it's very dated now. It seems very old school, but I still appreciated it. Like, it was still, it was fun to watch. Like, it's not necessarily scary, but it's just a great art form. Haunting. That's just fun. Yeah. It's just fun to watch. Of course, it makes you think of Tim Burton and the things that he's done with stop motion, but yeah.
Does it not bother either one of you though, that her head and her body didn't quite go
together?
No,
yeah. It did not.
Not only were they miscolored, but the proportions
very, very much not right.
Didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Well, when you become possessed, you see how put together you look.
Look,
I will say though, like Bruce Campbell's face as the demon, super cool.
Yes.
That is super cool.
Yes. And what I hate is they completely ruin that look in Army of Darkness.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. I won't
spoil it for me.
Craig too much, but he becomes possessed in Army of Darkness,
Mm-hmm.
and they decide to do something a little different.
Different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but the look, the prosthetic they put on Bruce Campbell and the look he has. I'd like to know how they really did that eye effect. You know, when he becomes normal again,
Yeah,
and you see
yeah.
the white wash out of the eye. Like, was the entire thing fake? Like, I couldn't tell if it was a real eye or if it was a fake eye, and it was just some sort of gimmick.
I didn't read anything about that. I do know I read that they filmed a lot of the stuff one direction and then just ran it backwards
in reverse.
Yes.
Reverse.
I know they do the tree attack scene is in both the first and the second movie was done that way.
Yeah,
where they wrapped her in the stuff and then pulled it off of her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the eyeball in the mouth, that was done in reverse too.
Yeah.
Like she spit it out and so.
Going back though, could you imagine if that actually was Holly Hunter? Academy Award winning Holly Hunter.
Right.
Taking an eyeball to the mouth.
Yeah, sure. So, well, she had to be eye candy.
Brum-bum.
All right, well, let's talk about box office. Evil Dead 2 opened on March 13th. Yes, Friday the 13th, 1987, to an unimpressive weekend gross of $807,000, but it was only released in 310 theaters at the time. However, after spending a little over a month in theaters, it ultimately grossed $5 million, almost $6 million worldwide. So, wasn't a huge
word
hit.
of mouth on that one.
Yeah. I think it debuted at number 14. It never cracked the top 10, but it stayed in like the top 20 for a good couple of weeks. So, but it never broke into like major theaters or bigger theater chains.
To be fair, a movie like this is never going to make a ton of money in the movie because there's just a fair amount of people who won't watch this kind of movie anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, people like us who just enjoy schlock fest, we're gonna flock to it, but you're I'm not gonna say average person, but there's a fair amount of people who, like, I'm thinking about my parents, like they would never willingly watch this movie.
Yeah, I don't see this as a big family night on Thanksgiving, like, okay, gather around, family around, we're all gonna watch Evil Dead 2 after having turkey. But yeah, maybe you do. I don't know. I did to my grandpa.
Maybe I'll bring it up this year. See, instead of watching the Cowboy game this year. Instead of watching the Cowboy game this year,
who wants to watch the Lions? Let's watch Evil Dead.
Oh man, yeah. But yeah, I will say, like I said, I would watch this again. And we're kind of moving into a rewatchability and nostalgia meter, but I think I have to be in the right mindset for it. Like, it's not just the normal one that I would just pop in for the sake of popping in. I'd want to be in the mood for that type of movie, that kind of comedy and horror mixed together. But not to say it's a bad thing. It's just one of those movies that has that kind of. You kind of have to be in that mind frame to kind of, or mindset to watch it. At least
maybe
for me.
You do.
Yeah. Well,
my mood to watch Evil Dead 2 is I woke up. That's my mood.
All right. Well, now it's time to take a look at how well this 80s flick holds up today. The all new rewatchability nostalgia meter is our way of measuring how enjoyable a movie is for repeat viewings, along with the waves of nostalgia it brings. Here's how it works. It's a 1 to 10 scale. Any number between 1 and 10 will do. Here are a few parameters to help you decide. At the bottom of the meter, a number 1 basically means you saw it once and that was enough. Right at the middle, at number 5, is a good rewatch every couple of years or so. And the highly coveted top of the meter, number 10, highly rewatchable and full of nostalgia. So I'll start with Nicholas. Nicholas, where does Evil Dead 2 land for you on the rewatchability and nostalgia meter?
8.
He's coming right out the gate with it. I give it an 8.
Oh, yeah. I'm giving it an 8. Its frantic camera work and over-the-top gore works. Its cheesiness makes it glorious.
He came prepared. I like it.
There you go.
Cool. What about you, Laramy?
I'm going to have to go like 8.5.
Oh, wow. That's lower than I thought.
Well, I'm not going to put it at a 10 because it is a movie that, again, at me as a father of small children, I can't watch it as the rewatchability is kind of hindered by that. But man, yeah, this movie's so much fun. You know what? I'll make it a 9. Let's make it a 9. Yeah, I can watch this is one of those movies, and there's several of these movies for me that I can watch over and over and over again. I never get tired of it. I am quoting half the movie. You know, it's just and then the fact that I know what is to come, you know, with Army of Darkness. I'm such a huge fan of Evil Dead just in general. I mean, I played the PlayStation games. I own the PlayStation games. You know, I own Ash versus Evil Dead, the Stars series. You know, I've got the special editions of both Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 that were released like inside of a Necronomicon.
Well, yeah.
We got one of those.
Yeah. I hate though that they were made out of such cheap material. They over the time.
Mine's starting to crumble a little bit.
Yeah, crumble and fall apart, even no matter how well you took care of them. But yeah, I mean, love this movie. I'm not saying it's one of the greatest movies ever made, but it is one of the most fun movies to watch. And yeah, that's right. Who's laughing now?
I think with one of the podcast partners I have, it has my copies of the Evil Dead or is it Army of Darkness? I can't remember versus Nightmare on Elm Street versus Ash versus Freddy or whatever that comic book.
Freddy versus Jason versus Ash.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I've got that. I think he has it right now because I lent it to him and he just hasn't given it back. But I own that. Well, I used to anyway. I might not own it anymore, but
it was once in my possession. Yeah, for
they
me.
Even did.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say because they even did like a few like just straight up Army of Darkness like comics. I don't want to say not want to say they did this. They tied Marvel Zombies in. And they did a mashup of Marvel Zombies with Army of Darkness. So yeah, no, I actually do not own those comics, but I would love to own those.
Yeah, so for me, like I said at the beginning, this wasn't one that I have a whole lot of nostalgia for. Like I said, I definitely remember seeing the VHS cover at the video store, but never really, was brave enough to watch it. So it's gonna go lower for me, but I'll still give it like a 6.5. I think I would rewatch it. It has rewatchability. It just, it doesn't go very high for me for nostalgia, but yeah, enjoyable, worth watching every couple of years. Once I see Army of Darkness and kind of see the full trilogy, it might bump up some more for me. So
you just brought it up and we haven't talked about it yet.
What's that?
VHS cover of Evil Dead 2.
Yes.
Is a skull with eyeballs.
That's not in the movie at all.
At no point at any version.
Neither is the cover of the first one with the woman
sticking her hand out of the grave or whatever.
Her hand out of the grave, being like pulled in.
But that's a little closer to what happens in the movie than this. There's no skull. There's no, there's an eyeball, but
yeah. Who cares?
Marketing at its best. Let's show you what we think you want to see.
It's a great cover.
Yeah,
I mean,
it gets your attention.
The 80s horror movie like VHS covers is a lost art.
That is true. That is true.
Well, even when you get to the cover for Army of Darkness, where it kind of mimics that style of like Star Wars, right? And where I'm pretty sure it's actually a piece of art. It's not a picture, but and it also looks like the Fabio like romantic covers because he's got the ripped shirt and the woman's on the ground laying up against his leg. There's some great covers. I actually have the original Evil Dead poster down here in my basement. But yeah, I wouldn't mind having the rest of them either. Those are some great covers.
All right, well, let us know where you think Evil Dead 2 should rank on the rewatchability and nostalgia meter for you. Send us an email or reach out to us on social media. You can leave us a comment right here on YouTube if you're watching the podcast here. So, well, thank you, Nicholas, and thank you, Laramy, for being a part of the podcast. We're in October. What's going on with your podcast? Laramy, what's going on over at Moving Panels for the month of October? Or the end of October at this point?
Yeah. So we hit our our scary ones a few weeks ago. We did an episode of The Empty Man, probably a lesser known horror movie that people may or may not be familiar with from the COVID year of 2020, but it is based off of a short series of comic books. And then Tim and I actually discussed the week of Halloween. We discussed some dark origins, some of the heroes and villains that just have, what would essentially be story and fodder for a horror story or a ghost story or something to talk about. So some fun times there. Always enjoy that. And then over at King Size, Tim and I, Tim joined me for a discussion of the 1990 miniseries of Stephen King's It.
Yes.
So we've got that over at King Size right there on Halloween.
Awesome. Lots to check out. What about you, Nicholas? What's going on over at Pop Culture Roulette? I know you did some Stephen King episodes recently.
I did. We did 2 Stephen King episodes where we talked about one episode. We did the normal bracket thing that we do and ended up having too many movies for one bracket. So we figured we'd just divide it in half. There's enough to do 2 brackets with an even number. So we were like, these are the top half. This is the bottom half. And we debated. If you know the podcast, you will be shocked by who won the best bracket, but if you know the podcast, you won't be. And then you'll be less surprised by who won the worst bracket. But yeah, we had a lot of fun. And then we did an episode on urban legends.
Yeah.
We did some spooky urban legends like the James Dean car, and then we did some just fun urban legends, and then we got a little dirty there at the end like we like to do. But, that's what we do. We have a lot of fun with Stephen King, and then we get dirty.
All right, well, cool. We'll definitely check out those episodes on your favorite podcasting catcher, Moving Panels and Pop Culture Roulette. So if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Be sure to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Jump online and visit the website, 80sflickflashback.com, and our TeePublic store for some awesome 80s Flick Flashback merch and original designs. Thanks again for tuning in, everybody. I'm Tim Williams for the 80s Flick Flashback podcast. Groovy.